Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. In this video we'll be learning how to make an underbust corset. So the 3 points measurements you need are the underbust, the waist and your upper hip. You need your underbust circumference, you need your waist circumference, and you need your upper hip circumference. And then you need the length from the underbust to the upper hip, then from the underbust to the waist and waist to the upper hip. You need the same thing for the side as well. Underbust to your upper hip measurement length, then you need your underbust to the waist length, and then the waist to the upper hip. The same thing goes for the back. You need your underbust to upper hip length for the back. You need the underbust to the waist length, and then the waist to the upper hip length. So once that is done, let's draft. So guys, this is my own measurement for the underbust corset. My round underbust is 29 inches, round waist is 28 inches, upper hip is 32 inches. Then for the front, underbust to hip is 9.5, underbust to waist 4 inches, waist to hip 5 inches. For the side, underbust to hip is 7.5, underbust to waist is 3.5, waist to hip is 5. Then for the back, underbust to hip 6.5, underbust to waist 4, and the underbust to hip. So now the first thing that I need on my measurement list is my underbust to hip measurement. But first, I'm going to leave out 2 inches at the down part of my paper. Just leave out 2 inches and then you mark it all through. Guys, subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section and then I'll reply to your messages. Thank you. So mark 2 inches all through. So that is exactly what I'm doing. So you mark it out. We are leaving 2 inches out because we need extra length at the down part of the paper. So once that is done, guys, then my underbust to my upper hip measurement is 9.5. So I'm going to be marking that out on my paper. So I'm going to be marking that out, my 9.5. I'll mark it all through, just the same way I did for the 2 inches. I'm going to be marking out 9.5 all through. 9.5 is resting on the former line that we made, so I'm going to be marking that all through as well, and then I will join the line to give me the measurement that I need. So just do exactly as I'm doing, mark 9.5 all through. So once that is done, I'm going to connect all my lines, and then I'll be using marker now so that all my lines can be visible. So all I'm just going to do is to trace out the former line that I made, and then I'll be doing the same thing for the 9.5 that I just marked now. So I'm going to do the same thing at the upper part. Subscribe to my channel. We have loads of other videos. You can check the former videos that I have, and then we'll be uploading more videos. So mark out your line. So once that is done, the next measurements that I need on my measurement list is my upper hip circumference, and that is 32 inches. So I'm going to be dividing it by 2 because this pattern is for both front and back. So I'll be marking out 16 inches now. I'll be marking 16 inches from the upper part to the down part, and then I'll be connecting my lines. Upper hip circumference divided by 2. That is all we need for our paper width. So I'm going to be connecting that now. That is my upper hip circumference. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to divide this width by 2, because one for the front and one for the back. So I'm going to be marking out 8 inches, which is half of 16 inches. So I can divide my pattern paper into 2 equal halves. So all you need to do is to divide your pattern paper into 2 equal halves. So I'm marking that out from the upper part up to the down part, and then I'll be connecting the lines. So we have divided our paper into 2, so that is one part for the front and the other parts for the back. So I'm going to label that so we don't get confused. So the front, that's for the front, and then the back. So the next thing that I'm going to do now is to get my bust point measurement divided by 2. So my bust point measurement is 8, and that is your nipple to nipple measurement. Let me put it that way. Your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. So mine is 8 inches, and now I'm marking out 4 inches. I've divided by 2. So I'm going to do that on the front, and same thing at the back as well. I'll be marking out 4 inches from the upper part to the down part. And the next thing that I'm going to do is to connect the lines. That is for our bust point measurement. So I'm going to connect the lines for the front, and I'll be doing the same thing for the back as well. Subscribe to my channel, guys. Give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying it. So we have our center back and we have the center front measurement for that. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to mark out my underbust to waist measurement. So my underbust to waist measurement is 4 inches. So I'm going to be marking that out on the paper. The measure from the upper part, I'll be measuring 4 inches all through for both front and back. So that is what I'm doing exactly. So just mark out your underbust to waist measure length. So we'll be connecting that now. Just connect the lines horizontally. So we are marking out the underbust to waist measurements now. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut off the excess part. We don't need that part, so I'll be cutting that off now. So that part is off now. The next thing to do is to get your underbust to hip measurement for the back, because that part is shorter than the front. You know, the front length we used was 9.5, but that for the back is 6.5 inches. So we'll be marking this out on only the back part. So I'll be measuring out 6.5 inches all through for the back only, because the back length is shorter than that of the front. So on the back we are marking out 6.5 inches all through, and then I'll be connecting the lines. That is for our back length now. So all I'm going to do is to connect the lines. So once that is done, the next thing that we are going to do now is to get our dart legs. So we'll be marking the dart leg for the front and the back. So all I'm marking now is 0.5 inches. You can mark out 0.75. It depends on what you want, but I'll be using 0.5 for my dart leg. So you mark out your 0.5 on the front part, you mark it out on the back part as well. Guys, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and you also need to check out our other videos as well. So once that is done, I'm going to be connecting my dart legs from the upper to the down part. So all you need to do is to connect the dart legs. So we'll be connecting that for the back, and we'll be doing the same thing for the front as well. Guys, you can see how careful I am doing all this, because we don't want to mess up our measurement at all. So once that is done for the back, we'll be doing the same thing for the front. Just connect the dart leg from the upper part to the down part. So once that is done, we are going to be taking out 0.5 inches to at the mid part. So we'll be doing the same thing at the mid part. That is the demarcation for the front and the back. So we'll be taking out 0.5 inches on both sides, and then we'll be connecting the lines same way we did for the front and back. Give this video a thumbs up, drop your questions in the comment section. I will reply to your messages. So all you need to do is to connect your lines, and then we are done. We have 3 dart legs now. We are done with our dart legs now. So the next thing we are going to do is to connect the front and the back. You know, the back has a shorter measurement, so we need to make sure that we have an even line at that midpoint. So all I'm going to do is to draw a curve from the front dart leg, passing through the midpoint where the shorter length is starting, and then to the back dart leg. So you can do this with your French curve, or you can use your freehand. So I prefer to use a freehand now. So all I'm going to do is to connect both dart legs to the midpoint, and then we have a curve at that edge. So now our front and the back has been joined together. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark out 1.5 inches at the center front, the lower part of the center front, and then for the center back lower part I'll be marking out 1 inch. So all I'm going to do is to connect to the curves. Guys, you can use any shape for your corset. You can decide to use a V or anything. I just prefer to use a curve for mine. So your corsets can come up with any shape that you prefer. So for the upper part, I'm going to mark out 1 inch at the center front and 1 inch at the center back as well. So all we are going to do is to connect this to the midpoint that we have made before. So we have 1 inch extra at the upper part for the front. We'll be connecting that to the side, and then for the upper part of the back as well, we'll be connecting that to the side. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, guys, and give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So that is done. The next thing that we need to do at this point is to take in some of our back measurement, because we are going to be using lacing for the back. So at the upper part of the back, I'll be taking in 2 inches, and then at the lower part I'll be taking in 1 inch. So I'm going to connect the lines now, and that has reduced our back measurement a bit. This will give us a little bit space for our lacing. So we no longer need this part. We are going to cut that part off. So once that is done, all we need to do is to label our patterns, because we don't want to mix them up when we are joining. So just go ahead and label your patterns at this point. Now, if you do not want your center front to be in pieces, you can decide to place it on fold. So that part is optional. You can place it on fold if you want, and you can leave it in pieces if you want. But for mine, I'll be leaving it in pieces. So all I'm going to do next is to extend my dart legs to the extra 1 inch that we added to the front and the back. So just go ahead and extend your dart legs at this point. Now for the lower part, we do not need the excess part of this curved part, the midpoint. So we'll be cutting that part out. We don't need it. So at this point, the next thing for us to do now is to cut out our pattern. So all you need to do is to cut out all your patterns. So cut. That's what we are doing at this point. Make sure you take note of all the curves and all your lines. You do not want to cut the wrong thing at this point. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and drop your comment. So everything is set now. We've cut out our pattern, and then I've gone ahead to transfer to my fabric. I have my main fabric, and then I've cut out my lining. So we'll go ahead now and join.